Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Briarpatch. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Obviously, we have, Allegra not backing down from this whole Felicity thing, even though AD is telling her to, just because it's like the fact of the matter is kind of accepting there is a part of your sister that kind of, Gene kind of said goodbye to, that eulogy he kind of get. And I think the reason why AD was saying that was because, yeah, you might not have known your sister, but at least part of her that was known, that might not have been known to you, was known to other people, is gone. So at least I think he wanted her to take the time to mourn the sister that she knew. Yeah, she had all these secrets. Yeah, there might be more to her death, but the fact of the matter is just kind of, take it and, mourn. But the fact of the matter is, Allegra can't. It's a thing of like, she is upset at herself because it's like she's the big sister. She was supposed to look after her sister, and like she feels like she failed. So it's like the only way she feels like she can fix it is if she gets justice. It's not going to bring her sister back, but maybe in some shape or form, she kind of thinks it mightn't, So obviously her and AD go visit, Harold, which is also interesting because we get a little insight, because we never actually get to see it, but we do know that Cindy, what she does, and like she had, what was it, like pudding or whatever, had a whole tub of it, and like she was getting ready for a video, and so Allegra's like handing over Harold the device for him to kind of make a copy for her. So while that's going down, they go to the restaurant, which like someone they know from school named Grace, which once again, the reunion gets brought up. It's like, that's going to pop up. That's going to be something they did, because Allegra ran into someone, not in the first or second episode, she ran into someone that was like, oh yeah, the reunion's like right around the corner. So it's like, since it's getting brought up again, it's going to play some role in all of this, But the fact of the matter is, it turns out that this is a place that obviously, Felicity visited often, because it's what some of the stuff, I think it was like the food that the little fortune cookie things that she saw on Felicity's desk, I think was connected to this place, but nevertheless, it turns out like the booth she sat at all the time looked straight across to the slaughterhouse, the same slaughterhouse that Bratto dropped her off at to see the drones and everything. So it's like, okay, so Felicity had a connection to this place, the drones were connected to this place, Bratto was connected to this place. So it's like, but the thing is, she doesn't think Bratto had anything to do with her sister's death, because Bratto doesn't get his hands dirty. He manipulates people. He does kind of like conniving villainy stuff, but doing this wouldn't be up, And AD knows a lot more than he kind of lets on, because he looked into Allegra, because it's like, well, you got to know all you need. You know as much as you can about your client so you can defend him. She's like, I don't need to be defended. But I think for him, it's like the route you're going down, the lanes you're kind of cut through, like eventually going to need me to defend you. So I need to kind of know best what's up, because he knows who Clyde is, and she kind of runs it down about like everything that's going down. So, but all the drones are gone, there's no evidence there, but then they see someone else is there, and that person runs, so they're all about tracking down this person. So she meets with someone named Gunter, who's played by Peter Stormare. I was like, hey, I want to say, I've seen him in a few things. Things that come to mind the most is Until Dawn, and I say the most recent thing he's done is American Gods, where he plays Chernobog. But essentially, him and Allegra have a past, because he talks about the fact is like, oh yeah, she's kind of quite the fighter. She kind of had quite a what was it, right hook or something. But like her biggest weakness is the fact is that she let her anger kind of get the best of her, and she made mistakes. Which is like, we can kind of definitely see that. You can definitely see the fact is that Allegra has deep-seated anger issues, just because there's a lot she hasn't really dealt with. I think it's kind of like a lot of unresolved issues, obviously stemming from her childhood, which we learned about. Wasn't that last episode? So. That plus just everything with Felicity, like there's a lot kind of buried deep. Like it seems Allegra doesn't seem like she's the one that does the whole emotions thing, like just kind of like she doesn't really express her feelings that well. So I think she kind of bottles it all up. We know that Allegra worked for him. Now, what she did necessarily, it was probably around that time she was doing whatever she needed to do to look after Felicity. So never really got 100% the ins and outs, but because Allegra was like, I'm looking for the kids, and he's like, oh, why, there's no ties to kids to me, and she's like, no, I'm talking about the kids like me, I guess kids that were desperate, that were just kind of lost, and he was like, basically calling them like, I think it was like the hood rats, kind of like basically hoodlums, kids that were lost, kind of had nothing and nowhere to really go. So I think Gunther is kind of like connected to how she made sure to take care of her and Felicity, because she made it clear that like she did whatever she needed to. They end up running into the kids. One of the kids is talking mad shit because punk teenagers, right? But apparently he's burned the evidence, and it's like, okay, so it's also interesting too because they also bring up this other like background plot about like Grace. Was that her name, Grace? The friend that she met that she knew from school. Apparently, like the beers that she keeps that Dale is drinking all the not Allegra is drinking all the time. It turns out like that particular brewery or whatever, that place actually shut down, and the family behind the business is now outsourcing it to Mexico. So you're like, it's probably going to circle back into something, but we'll see. Because the fact of the matter is, like, I thought something was pretty much up when like the lady that was taking out the trash, she was kind of looking their way, and then she made a lot of noise to kind of be like, yo, I'm here, kind of like, shut your mouth, what are you doing? But it's like Allegra finds the same tiger on that kid they ran into. He came back looking for that because it was supposed to be a gift for his sister, but it's like she saw that toy already. She saw Lalo, so it's like she's thinking he's connected to all this because she ends up finding out because Gunther ended up giving her another tip about like the fact of the matter is why that slaughterhouse is so important, because apparently there was a drug bust there. Floyd was connected to it. Strucker and Felicity all were the cops that dealt with it. Well, checking on Lalo, they end up finding out that he was actually part of that drug bust as well, but the newspaper cut him out. Only Felicity, Strucker, and Floyd, 3 people who are dead now, were connected to it. But the fact of the matter is, like someone came to buy the place up but kind of kept it the same. So it's interesting because I'll circle back to it. But the fact is, we learned something else interesting about that slaughterhouse. That's actually where Spivey's dad worked, and apparently he died. You actually read the article a little bit. It was talking about like basically the place got shut down for an hour. So it's like, oh, they only shut it down for an hour, dealt with the whole he's dead situation, and just kind of moved on. And it's like, Spivey ended up talking about the fact that him and his mom got like an hour, got like a supply, a year's, what was it, like a year's or a life supply of like ground beef or something like that was going to make things better. But regardless, which immediately Allegra thinks she's got the whole thing figured out, thinking that okay, Lalo busted up the whole drug thing, and obviously like she believes he took over operations, which is interesting because when you take the intro with the little girl and everything and like the drones and everything, and it seems he's connected to the drones, so you're like, what the hell is that all about? But then it turns into a thing of like, at first I was thinking like the moment that circle starts circling in that direction, I was like, wait, is he in the human trafficking business or not? My mind went there later, but then initially I was like, are the kids supposed to be drug mules? Are they like crossing the border? He meets up with them and they're selling the drugs that way. That's what I was thinking. But obviously my thought about that changed later on. We'll get to it soon enough. But the fact is, Allegra went and confronted Lalo, because even AD was like, we need to take it slow. Like Felicity was very careful about this. We don't have everything fully figured out. But for Allegra, it's like she's like, I know what this is. Like the fact of the matter is she knows what this town's all about, because it's like you and me, AD, we came back to this town for the same reason, death. This town is nothing but death. So for her, it's like I've always known what this town is, and the fact of the matter is like that there was always this underbelly of it, that there's this terrible criminal side of it, and just like that it wasn't a good place, and it's so crazy to think Felicity fought so hard to like try and change this place. That was kind of a conversation last episode, but Allegra would do anything to, you can almost tell she has this feeling almost like she'd do anything to hurry up and leave this town, but she can't leave until she finds out what happened to Felicity. So that's a whole interesting element to it. But when they actually do confront Lalo, he's like, what, you think I would do that? Like Felicity, I cared about her and stuff like that, kind of being like, you didn't even really know her and stuff like that. So because it didn't all piece together like Allegra thought, which is interesting too, because there's the whole thing with Freddie, because Freddie went to talk to Spivey about the place that he owns. It's actually kind of sad because there's like an actually like tainted history to the place that he owns, like the whole family tragedy and stuff like that. The son basically kind of went a little crazy because his parents went a little crazy, and he ended up just kind of giving the place to Spivey. Whether it was really that clean cut and dry, who knows? But Freddie, being who he is, poked the bear, because he starts bringing up all this stuff about what Spivey's up to and stuff like that. It's like, oh, like you were kind of like a black ops assassin. He was like, I was an intelligence officer. Clyde, your partner, he's like, he wasn't my partner. That's right. He was your superior officer. That's why, and he references that place that's near. When and it's supposed that place they keep referencing, isn't it supposed to be like near Aleppo or something like that? It's like, oh, that's why he got a bitter cut. So it's like Freddy's definitely got like his finger on the pulse of this whole thing. Like, so the fact of the matter is, because even Jake, it's kind of like you need to be careful what you're saying, because like Freddy's just kind of pushing certain points, because it's like, oh, what about these car bombings? And he's like, what about them? And he's like, oh, did I strike a nerve? Well, it's like, obviously he has a connection to Felicity, and then like obviously Jake doesn't like being considered like guilty a part of this. But then this was it the Stagehorns, senior and junior show up, but they kind of oversee Freddy. And them showing up, he kind of like, he was like all tough. He was poking the bear that is Jake. But the moment they showed up, he kind of got all meekish. And the fact is like, all right, my bosses, the people, rich people who tell me what to do show up. So it's a situation of like, even the Stagehorn senior gets him to take his hat off, and it's like, throw it away, which he does. And Jake's like, see, you're not the only one that learned how this place works, this town. So basically knowing the right people, I'm curious to see what his connection is with the Stagehorns and stuff. Well, because we do know that, because basically the mayor is talking to Eve later on about the fact is that the someone is trying to buy up property in Packingtown, and he wants to look into it. Like, there's a company in particular, but he's trying to figure out who that company is connected to. He immediately goes like, it sounds Mexican, but I'm not sure. And I'm like, that's interesting. That's just the route that you kind of have to focus on. But like, he kind of gets pissed at Eve because he's like, oh, I told you I get my guy. And it's like, oh, stop being cute. I don't pay you to be cute. And it's also telling her later on she needs to smile more and stuff like that. Because initially he wants her to look into this whole Packingtown thing, but she's like, that's not my job purview. He's like, basically, you do whatever the hell I tell you to. And so we see her desk too, because she has it covered up, but basically she has some unresolved anger issues because like her desk is all slashed up, and we see her like stabbing it with a knife to the point she bends the knife, and she kind of got that like kind of smiling like, oh, there's deep-seated rage buried beneath all of that. So got to be on the lookout for her. Which you also have Eve telling Gene to kind of slow down because Gene even brings up like, yeah, this whole Floyd thing doesn't sit right with me. It's like, well, you would have probably known more if you had shot him. And I love like Gene is like, the entire chief, everyone shot him, which is like, to be fair, that is true. But the fact of the matter is, it seems like she's kind of being, because the whole point is to like shut this down. The fact of the matter is, this investigation needs to be kind of dealt with, because I guess just the optics of it, the mayor doesn't like that. So she doesn't want Gene even going down that route. It's like, why did you come here in the first place? He's like, I had the opportunity to spread my wings. And she's like, good. Just make sure you kind of do it closer to the ground. Because even that whole thing about like, it's like, oh, your wife showing up at, at the funeral. And he's like, what, you don't think I have my wife under control? Like that phrasing, I'm like, I don't know whether that's supposed to mean like, Lucretia, there's something there, like maybe she isn't all there in the head. Maybe it has something to do, because she was like, Gene, why did you come here? And it's like, maybe his wife has something to do with that. I'm curious. But she's like, oh yeah, go, take your wife out on a date, spend some time with her, get her a big old steak. She deserves it, something like that. And also stop drinking all these sodas. It'll give you diabetes. You'll lose a limb or something like that. So I'm curious, like what the hell that's all about. But it kind of ties back because Freddy wrote on the paper, like in the newspaper, he wrote that basically Floyd, Strucker, and Felicity were dirty. And the fact is that Floyd killed both Strucker and Felicity. Well, attempted to kill Strucker, but killed Felicity for the purposes of trying to get back at them for cutting him out. So obviously now his name is being tarnished in this whole situation too. And even AD took it personally, like, you writing this swill about Felicity, take it back. It's like, who hired you to write this? And it turns out the person who did was Eve, because, so like there's definitely like some super, super shady stuff going on with all of this. But the fact of the matter is, when it's all said and done though, I did like the fact is AD gets very sensitive, I think, when it comes to, like, much like Allegra, I think he gets very sensitive when it comes to the whole Felicity thing, because he was like, we will sue you for, what was it, defamation or liable, because the fact of the matter is, it's like, yeah, because it takes a lot of money to defend yourself in court, and Allegra just got a whole bunch of money from a life insurance, so like, can you keep this up? And so, but Freddie starts coughing and stuff like that. I'm like, are you about to? And it seems like he was kind of being taken care of, because like there's a lot of loose ends that needed to be, tied up potentially. Maybe it was just, being questioned like that, him in his older age, and just maybe not eating healthy, whatever the case may be. It to me seemed more on purpose, like he might have been poisoned, but maybe it was just an age thing, or maybe it's going to appear that way until we find out later on, oh no, there's something in his toxicology showing that, oh no, he was poisoned or something. I don't know. Also, it almost seemed like they did that on purpose, but they showing AD in a tank top, and it's like, yo, home dude is swole. You wouldn't think so under all those, like, kind of like Hawaiian shirts and stuff that he wear, but he looking like super muscular. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I didn't know you were kind of jacked like that underneath. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, because I don't think I've ever seen that actor, like, in something like a tank top to kind of show whatever the case may be. Is that even called a tank top? Is it aren't tank tops just, I'm getting too caught up in it. Regardless, ignore what I'm saying. It was just interesting. I couldn't help but notice. I was like, oh, he seemed a little jacked, super muscular. That's all I was kind of focusing on. The fact of the matter is, I thought that was interesting. But like, the whole conversation, it's like Allegra's like, I'm missing something to this whole situation. And then you have, AD being like, you need to focus on your grief, just live in it, take it in. You're not processing, you're right, and you're spiraling, which for her, it's like, you really got room to talk. You're literally living in your grandmother's house with all these toys. It's like, you're kind of surrounding yourself in your grief too, so you're kind of almost like no different than me in that regard. And then she starts messing with the toys and everything, and he was like, stop, and he grabs hold of her. I'm like, oh, is this about to turn hot and steamy? Oh, lo and behold, it turns hot and steamy, because it, in a weird way, kind of felt like that, because the moment he kept when he grabbed onto her arms to stop her, and he's like, stop, and she's like, no. I'm like, well, we know Allegra's into the rougher stuff, and it's just like, they see the make out and hard cut, she's outside with just his shirt on. I'm like, okay. But apparently, like, she was listening to some of the recording, and I think for her, it was like hearing Felicity's voice again after all this time, like, kind of had her shook a little bit. But then it's like she was going to meet up with someone over the phone, and then like Allegra goes back to where those kids were hanging out to see like what she missed, and lo and behold, she sees the girl from earlier kind of walking away, and it's like, okay, it was that bag of drugs she's got in her backpack, but it turns out it's burgers. And I'm like, burgers? I was like, wait, is this like an illegal like situation of like crossing people over? Like, is this like, because Lalo makes it seem like he doesn't want to keep doing this anymore, and I'm like, that's why I was kind of wondering if it was something shady. That's where I start thinking like, oh, could this be like some human trafficking then? But it's like, no. It seems like, because the moment Allegra goes inside, she sees kids playing, and she sees a lot of people. Like, it seems to almost be like a shelter of sorts, and I'm like, okay, so this is it's an operation to help people who are, illegal immigrants, to kind of sneak them into the U.S. and probably give them proper paperwork and stuff like that. That's what I think this is supposed to be, people escaping some bad stuff in Mexico, potentially. It's what that is, and Lalo's kind of a part of this, and I'm assuming Felicity was a part of it too. So that's interesting. Like, well, I mean, I'm assuming like Felicity stumbled across what Lalo and whoever else, because like whoever, this operation's got to be heavily funded, because it's like, because even AD had pointed out the fact that it's like the whole drone thing, that's not something he'd just be able to do on his own. I'm thinking it's Spivey that's helping him, because what did Freddie ask him, what kind of rich person do you want to be, and he was like, I want to be a benevolent one. I think this is kind of his pet project, because remember what he grew up from. He grew up losing it, but he grew up poor, so he wants to kind of give it back. I think he wants to give other people an opportunity. So helping sneak people across the border using Lalo and everything to kind of make this all happen. I think that's what this is all about, which is interesting, because like, why would Brattle want her to see that? Not unless it's actually Brattle that's a part of this and not Spivey. I don't know. Not less. The fact is that it comes off altruistic but really maybe Spidey actually has shady ulterior motives for it. Maybe he's making some money off the back end of this whole thing. I don't know, because now it shows that this has nothing to do with drugs, that this is about kids. Like I said, I thought it was kids, like child smuggling, but it's like, no, it seems like getting people who are illegal into the States and potentially hooking them up with the extent of it. We don't know. We'll ultimately have to wait to see where it all kind of takes us next episode to kind of fill in those blanks. But I'm really interested to see where it all takes us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.